Hello, everybody. This is Jonathan Soo Hoo, and I am an expert in chess. Today, I want to present to you a game of mine from a few years ago. It was at the U.S. Amateur Team Tournament. I liked this game because it was a very complex struggle, and it was in one of my favorite pet lines that I often employ as black. Speaking of which, oops. See what's going on here. There we go. So let's start. Let's start from the beginning. I've played the Niter for a long time, and I still play it. It's one of the many openings I've held on to. I grew up a very big fan of Robert James Fischer, as I think almost every American player does. I I just really admired him, and I admired his style of play. For the longest time, I played e4 as white. I played all open Sicilians, all basically anything Fischer played. I had played it, and I played the Austrian attacking against the Pirc. I played the knight c3 line against the French. I'm just trying to think here. What else did I play? I mentioned Ori Lopez, the Spanish game. Pretty much everything that Bobby Fischer played, I would play. And so I was just a huge fan of Bobby Fischer. Oh, as black, I played Najdorf. I adopted the Najdorf. And on top of Najdorf, I adopted the King's Indian as well. Long time ago, I no longer play the King's Indian. And it really suited my style when I was younger. I mean, Najdorf undoubtedly is a relatively sharp opening, and I don't, I guess Bobby Fischer, he didn't play. He wasn't the sharpest player. He wasn't like tall. He was clearly a very sharp player, but at the same time, he knew those openings so well that he just dominated. Really, he dominated with his knowledge, his superior knowledge of all these positions and this opening preparation. So, I grew up a fan of Bobby Fischer, and Najdorf was perhaps one of the few openings that I really have stuck to over all these years, since I started playing chess. Really, I remember when I was 1200 rated, 1100 rated, I would carry around a book called My 60 Memorable Games. And every time I needed some help, and every time I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong in the opening, I'd look in the book. Now, it didn't matter to me that theory had been completely outdated. I would look in the book. I just grew up a huge fan of Robert James Fischer. And as a result, Najdorf is one of the openings that really stuck with me. In the Najdorf, okay, f3 and bishop e3 were not common moves at the time Fischer played. The most common move was bishop e2. He liked bishop c4. Oh, I played the Sozin as white against the Najdorf when I was younger. Actually, I should say the Fischer variation. Bishop g5 was another common move. G3 was played occasionally, but it was mainly bishop e2, c4, or g5. Those were the main options for white. And so, just to show you how much theory has, progressed. For example, I don't think Bobby Fischer ever played a game in the English attack. I'm not sure if f4 was played very often. I'd have to look up on that. So, f3, This is English attack. The idea is just bishop d3 is next. It's preventing knight g4. I think there's some people who like to play queen b6 here. The idea is that if bishop d3, b2 would hang, but I don't particularly like that, so I play e6. I don't play bishop knight g4 if bishop e3 either, so it's no big deal for me. E5 is the main move here. But so E5. But I don't know. A few. I remember. I think it was. I think it was back in 2004. I learned E6. Oops. E6, and this was always my. It's always been my favorite move in the position. And honestly, I play E5. At times. I think now I probably would play E5, but at the time I was playing E6, and you know I'm showing this more to show you. It was a great game. I thought. Perhaps I think it was maybe one of the last games that I don't play that often, so it might have been one of the last games that I've really played where I felt like I played with very sharp position and won convincingly. And it's been a while. Well, it's not. It has been a while, but I haven't really played that often. So it's a mixed bag. I mean, I've played maybe 3 tournaments in the last year, maybe 4 tournaments since this tournament. So it's not like I have a lot of opportunities to play very brilliant games. White can take on b5, and also he can play a4 here. Those are options, but he played. Also, actually, the main move is castles. So he was somehow worried about b4 here. I'm not sure why. It was no big deal. I mean, even if you're that worried, if b4, you just drop the knight into c6 and take b4. So it just didn't make a whole lot of sense. But and this move, g6, exclam. The idea is to meet h5 with rook g8. I didn't even have to think about these moves, because I understood the concepts, the ideas in the position. I mean, it's hard to find who would find g6 and rook g8 over the board unless you already knew the idea. And I found I knew the idea because I was doing work on this line, and it was a game between Gorgiev and Wojciechowicz. Both of whom were experts in the Najdorf and experts actually in the E6 Najdorf in this system. I think Gorgiev was white and Wojciechowicz was black. That was before Wojciechowicz passed away. But we'll see how quickly this turns out quite alright for me. So knight c4, just threatening to take e4. Knight c4. Now I'm threatening to. I could just win the bishop pair, but I had another idea. So my idea was that I'm keeping this knight on the board. It kind of can be a nice attacker if I decide to attack, but I can choose to take it off the bishop if I so desire. I mean, I can play something like e5, and after takes, then I take the knight, the bishop, and after queen takes, then I take g5, and I won the queen. So he moves the king over, but he notices that as well. So now I play queen a5. Oh, very simple threat. Knight takes a3, b4. I mean, just keeping the pressure on my opponent to respond to every single one of my threats. I played it. I mean, this is why in part why I really like this game, because it's a very logical game. It's logical attack. That's what I like. I don't like those attacks where you sacrifice a bunch of material and then somehow, some way, it doesn't really work, but it does work. Your opponent blunders at the end, and then you somehow slip away with a win. And I don't know. It's, to me, I don't like those kind of attacks. They don't work against the players I play against normally. So this is why I like logical attacks. Okay, so now on knight a2, what am I going to do? Well, I take on e4, takes back, bishop takes, queen b6, rook. I played queen b6. I'm keeping an eye on this. Whoops, that queen. On f2, I'm also looking at this with this b2 square. So rook e8, e1. Also, I'm obviously threatening to just take off. So d5, a very logical move. Takes on c3, then I take on that b2. It's checkmate. So king moves over, and then I just played a5. See, every single move is relatively logical. I'm just trying to make practical moves that make sense. And bishop c3, and now I guess I'll let you stop and think about the position, have a look at it. Try to find the next move I played. Because if you look at it in this position, I mean, logically, I'm much better. My position is much better. I didn't know. I did. My opponent's mistake was he didn't know the ideas and the openings in this line. This is why it's one of my pet lines, because I know the ideas so much better than a lot of my opponents. I'm not trying to brag here. It's really crucial to understand ideas and openings. Otherwise, you'll never understand. You'll never understand the lines. And I just want you to see, what happened to this once formidable attack of all these pawns on h5, g5 that were just supposed to come crashing down and destroy rip open my king and checkmate me. Well, they didn't. That's the answer. They really didn't. But rook h8, that's just the nice move. So, at first sight, you would think rook h8. Doesn't that fall into a skewer, some sort of hidden attacks on the long diagonal? But white's problem is this guy on f2. If this guy on d4 ever moves, f2 hangs. And we see he tries to get out, and then rook c3. And I just came crashing in. Knight b3, so now I'm just threatening checkmate. Knight b3, a4, knight d4, and rook c3, and he resigned. Now, we see how quickly he lost. What could he have done better? If I remember correctly, I told him after the game I expected something like rook f5. And I think I was going to play rook f8. I think that would lose a piece on the spot. What was I going to play? Oh, no, that doesn't work. Knight takes on the spot wins. Because if queen takes, then bishop takes. So king b1 was kind of forced. There was some point, I remember, Yeah, I don't think he's supposed to take here. This is usually bad. I mean, it looks nice when you get this rook on f7, but it really is. This pawn is so well defended. I can slide a rook over. It's really hard for him to attack the pawn. But yeah, can't really point to you exactly where he went wrong, other than this whole idea of such a fast attack is frankly flawed. Um, f4s can't be good. That's another thing. F4 cannot be good. Um, to be honest, if I guess if he doesn't play f4, I play knight e5, drop my knight into c4, and it's quite nice indeed for black. So, frankly, just right out of the opening, first of all, g5 is not a good idea. You don't want to kick my knight because I'm going to go move my knight anyways. So castles is the main move after knight bd7. Or okay, hey, let's go bishop b7. No, I have to play knight d7. If bishop b7, there's an obnoxious move. Then after here, then I get this kind of stuff. Oh my god, the bishop is in ping. So I have to play here first. After bishop c3, bishop b7, queen f2, rook c8, knight d2. This is the main line, and this is subject to another video. But so right off the bat, my opponent didn't react to a pet line, and that's the idea of a pet line. And I don't know, I really liked this game because of the simplicity of it. Oh, a3 was terrible. It's wasted a move. So, yeah. I hope you enjoyed this video. I thought it was rather instructive of the importance of the opening, really. For now, this is Expert Jonathan Soo Hoo. Thanks for watching.